visors?
Hey guys, we're going to tackle 3 separate issues each. My issues are regarding mostly health and safety. First of all, I'm sure the biggest question you guys have and have had is on grandfathering of the visors. We have got a consensus from the players, and today we agreed to grandfather visors. We're going to get together in the next week to work on some rules and guidelines surrounding visors, but we have agreed to grandfather visors in starting next season. It's a recommendation we're making to send to the Board of Governors and our board as well. The second is hybrid icing. We're gonna have an agreement to try hybrid icing in the preseason this year. We're going to try it for the entire preseason. There are a lot of players that haven't played with it, may not fully understand it, and I think this will give them a better idea of what to expect possibly. And then we would convene at the end of training camp with our board and try to gather consensus if we would like to continue with hybrid for the regular season. Otherwise, we would go back to the icing rule as it is. The last thing is we've agreed to form an equipment subcommittee that's going to look at all equipment from goaltenders to shoulder pads, elbow pads, shot blockers, and that committee is going to get together as soon as possible. And again, we'll review all equipment, make recommendations coming out of there on everything from goaltenders to forwards, every piece of equipment we can think of.
Who would be on that committee?
We're gonna have Colin finish up with the next 3, and then we'll take questions.
Areas we discussed were attainable passes, which we tightened up this season, but going forward, the puck has to touch the player's stick. We tried shallower nets, same size of nets, meaning crossbar posts, but they're shallower at the back and at the sides. I think 4 inches on the sides. We have the dimensions, but we've decided to implement those nets for next season. And the third area is the high sticking rule. The 4-minute high sticking rule is now an item that will be thrown to video review. We'll review every 4-minute high stick to make sure the correct call was made on the play. So that's one item we've added to the review of the 4-minute high stick. So those are 3 of the other items. Questions?
That's all has to go through board approval, like shallower nets.
Yeah, all these things we'll discuss. A lot of these things have been discussed at the managers' meetings. Anything that hasn't, we discussed a few other items. We'll take it to the managers' meeting next week or in 2 weeks. As Matthew said, they got a few things that came up that will be discussed with their board, but all the items we discussed have to be board approved.
Matthew, can you talk about what you said? There's a meeting next week to do with the visors. Explain that. Or
Well, we're going to get together essentially to define or put limitations on the visors, how big a visor can be, how small a visor can be, how the visor should be worn, things like that. So there's still work to do as far as that goes. But again, I think today we accomplished an awful lot, and we were able to get consensus. It was the first time since we've been polling players that we've had a clear majority that wanted the grandfather in.
What was the vote for the players?
That's an internal matter, but we feel very comfortable with where the players stand on
But it was
this.
a significant majority?
It was.
And you mentioned too that you're putting together another group about the equipment. Will that be players? And who will be on that?
That's something that we're going to discuss probably when we get together with the same group. I think from early talks, there definitely should be GMs, trainers, players, ex-players, on both sides, and I think we'll decide when we get together. But essentially, we want to get representation from all those different areas and input. Particularly when it comes to the goalie gear, but it's it's going to be a lot of work in that committee, but I think it's certainly worthwhile. We don't want to be in a situation like we have been in the goalie equipment where we continue to do small things and revisit it every couple of years. We want to make some, some major changes and feel comfortable where we are. We won't have to change it for a long time again.
Why do you think we've reached this point with the visors? Obviously, this has been thought about for a number of years, but this is the first major step in that.
I think the biggest thing is that every player coming into the league has to have previously worn one. And we have 70+% of the guys currently wearing them in the league. So, it's just been, overall, it's just been a change in attitude. I think those are the two biggest contributing factors.
Was there much consideration given to maybe making all players have to wear them immediately, or?
I would say no. Simply the question was asked in our survey, but it was a very small percentage of guys that thought that everyone should have to wear them.
Coley, what's the purpose of the thinner nets?
They're not thinner nets, they're shallower. The purpose is more room to work behind the net, more room to come out and do the jam plays, hoping to produce more offense again. And as I said, we've had this net ready for 3 or 4 years. We've used it at the R&D camp. And so we don't know exactly how it's going to work. We've never used it in any season, but we've tried everything regarding it, and our best guess is it's going to be better. It's not going to be worse.
Any discussions at all towards making the nets bigger, or do you think perhaps making the goalie equipment smaller might have that desired effect?
The Groundhog Day topic, we talked about goaltender equipment as part of the equipment scenario, and we've arrived on some issues, and the players agreed with us that we have to be more stricter in our approach, and we have to actually deal with some goaltenders who do cheat, and we've got to work through some of the processes of what we're going to do with the committee, but we expect to be more disciplined on that and to apply some of the rules next year. Meaning, if we suspend the goalie, how are we going to do it? What are the fines? What are the issues? For example, if you suspend a goalie now, if you have 23 players that need to be protected, you may lose a player bringing up another goalie because that goalie who is suspended stays on your protection list. So you could have to send a player down to bring up a goalie. So we have to walk through some of those specifics, but we hope to really apply some teeth to the goaltender equipment situation now.
Matthew, for years we've been hearing how the equipment has become like a weapon. Is that part of the main concern? To soften it up a bit?
That's certainly a big factor, without a doubt. And if we hadn't learned so much about brain trauma and brain injuries over the last decade, we might not be having this conversation. But that's one aspect of it. I think when you look at some of the equipment used for shot blocking nowadays, we use this analogy just because Don's in baseball. I asked him one day, I said, what if a third baseman put on catcher's gear? Would that be illegal? And essentially what we've done is we've given players gear now that enables them to block shots with their skates, hands, and I've seen players dive headfirst in front of shots, and that's something that wouldn't have happened a decade ago, and that's part of a bigger discussion. But that's like you said, that's one topic, but not the only one.
You didn't wear a visor when you played, did you?
No, I didn't.
Did you had a moment when you personally started to think that this was the right way to go? Is it any one of the particular injuries we've seen, or?
Well, I tried it several times in my career, and another issue that came up for the players was making sure that we get visors that fit properly. Visors typically are one size fits all, and the trainers try to conform to the helmet. That's part of the work that we're going to do on this equipment subcommittee is work with the equipment manufacturers to get visors that don't change the way the helmet fits, and to try to get products that allow the players to feel like it's not a change.
But do you think the Stahl injury this year might have helped
Without a doubt,
guys,
every time there's an injury like that, I think you get any player that's playing without a visor starts to think about it, or has his mom calling him, or his wife telling him, or his kids telling him, and I dealt with that throughout my career, and you know, it's certainly something, and it's a reason why the numbers are so high. Frankly, you know, the numbers went up again. More guys put a visor on after the Stahl injury this year.
Are we still at 73? Do you know, or is it?
I believe that's pretty accurate what the number is. All right, guys, thank you very much.